Welcome back to the 10-8 round mixed martial arts podcast, the Rebel Alliance of the MMA media. Always outmanned, never outgunned. I am Zach from Filthy Philadelphia, joined by the incomparable Coltrane.
Good to be here.
Good to be here.
Good to be here. Blue Collar Batman across the way from me.
Blue Collar Batman.
That's right.
Coming at you live.
And your resident Blackneck.
Resident Blackneck coming at you live. I'm just excited. I'm beside myself with excitement.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because the rumor has it that there's fights this weekend.
Big fights.
Before we get carried away, should we start in the usual fashion?
Ritual is best.
Excellence is but a habit. Cheers to no electric fires.
Boom.
Thirst deaded.
Killed.
Even on a cold Philadelphia winter day.
Homicide.
Even down here in Area 52. Monitored constantly by the federal government.
At all times.
A cold liquid death still just hits the note.
Does what it needs to do.
It hits the correct note every time. There's a rumor that there's fights this weekend. Can you
Big
confirm?
old fights. Can confirm UFC 310. Las Vegas.
On paper, and we never know what the MMA gods have in store for us when the night arrives, but on paper, this is the most exciting card of the year.
I agree.
I'm so hyped for this one.
So many good fights happening.
It's so many good fights, in fact, that we are going to suspend our typical fashion of just picking kind of our favorites to watch. And we're kind of just going to go down the line and I think give credit to all 14 fights on this card.
Let's get right into it.
Main event, Alexandre Pantoja, Asakura.
Flyweight division.
This is a banger main event.
Huge banger. Asakura, his first time in the UFC.
He's a Ryzen alum. Yeah, Ryzen, of course, being the bastard love child of Pride, possibly the greatest MMA promotion that ever existed. And we keep Pride on the wall because Pride never die. Asakura making a UFC debut against Alexandre Pantoja. Like, what could be better? The champ.
The champ. Defending his belt. I think we're going to see... I have a note here that says the Duplessis effect.
Go on.
Wherein great fighters with ugly form
Sure.
make shit happen.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see Pantoja do that again. I think it could happen. But I don't think this is in any way, shape, or form going to be an easy fight.
No. Here's what I think the problem is on this one, and calling it a problem in the loosest sense of the term. And the problem is thus. You never know what you're going to get when you get a dominant fighter from another promotion.
That's right.
Michael Venom Page came over from Bellator and looked incredible in his first fight against Kevin Holland.
Right, but then here comes Michael Chandler, and we're like...
Who's never been able to get out of first gear. Now, credit to Iron Mike, he has only fought the true best of the best.
Fair enough.
Right? I mean, 2 fights with Dubronx Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. Like, Michael Chandler is not taking an easy fucking fight. But again, right, the numbers don't lie. He has not been successful in the UFC at all.
No.
So Asakura coming over from Ryzen, I don't know. His last fight was a TKO over Juan Archuleta, who's a known name. But I don't know what we're going to see when he steps in against Alexandre Pantoja, who is the champ of the flyweight division.
The guy.
And is the champ for a reason, right? Has wins over Steve Erceg, has a win over Brandon Royval, Assassin Baby, Brandon Moreno, Alex Perez, Manel Kopp, hasn't lost since 2020. Right, and his only losses, I think, are to Oscar Askarov and Davison Figueiredo and Dustin Ortiz, but has been on a dominant 4-year run.
100%. But if there's anyone to come into the promotion and make a play like that, it's going to be Asakura with that experience. Because sometimes you get these guys from different, and look, they haven't had the right competition. They're just coming into the promotion. They're making a jump. I don't think that's what's happening here. Asakura is coming in from stiff competition into stiffer competition, but he has shown a confidence under pressure, a strong performance against other high-level fighters, and he's got those knees and punches. And that kickboxing is going to really be on display.
Japan just cranks out tough, lighter fighters too. And I'm gonna look it up here. And I'm gonna jump in with some homework for the audience. While I talk about this, and I'm going to actually Google this because I want to get his name right. There's a documentary called Choke. Now, if you real, if you nasty, if you've been around, you know the movie Choke. It's a documentary that chronicles Rickson Gracie fighting in a Vale Tudo over in Japan. Rickson, by his own claim, is the greatest mixed martial artist of all time.
More to say.
But what I think was really, I think this is him, Jutaro Nakao, I believe, is the fighter featured in Choke. Maybe not. Hang on. I want to get this right. Because it is worth getting right. Let's see here. So, it's a... How do I describe this? It's a great look back through what MMA once was. And I'm trying to find the fighter Rickson fights in Yuki Nakai. It's Yuki Nakai. But if you want to know kind of the fighter that Japan MMA cranks out, Yuki Nakai makes it, I believe, to the finals against Rickson. I know his last fight is against Rickson. Yuki Nakai got blinded in a fight with Gerard Gordeau. And I mean blinded. He never got full vision back. Like, he was blinded by Gerard Gordeau, who he submitted. Refused medical attention, refused to pull out, wins another fight after that with one eye, and in one of what has to be, I think, the toughest moments ever captured on film, Yuki Nakai is walking around in the back, blind, cannot see, face swollen shut, going, Rickson, before the final. I mean, just toughness that is indescribable with words in the English language.
And to juxtapose that in terms of the current day, we have Bilal Muhammad, who
hurt his toe.
He hurt his toe.
Let's be sensitive to Bilal's injuries. He hurt his toe. He only has 9 spares.
Leading Shavkat Rakhmonov to go against Ian Machado Gary this time around.
Let's just get right into it, right? We could say more about Pantoja Asakura, but what could we say? Shavkat versus Ian Gary. This is a good one. This is a banger.
Very good one, yeah. Even matchup for sure.
2 goose eggs in the loss column. So Shavkat 18-0, Ian Gary 15-0.
Somebody's walking away with something.
Somebody's losing their goose egg.
That's right.
And that's I like Shavkat here.
I also like Shavkat, just the more physical fighter. You know that you and I have a bias for physical, durable guys.
Sure. And grapplers.
Yeah.
We do have a grappler bias.
Definitely.
That being said, I do think that this is the best striker that Shavkat has hit yet.
Agreed.
And I don't want to say my problem with Shavkat. My fear with Shavkat is if you've watched him, and I think it was the Jeff Neal fight. So last year he fought Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal was putting some hands on him for a couple of rounds. Now, Shavkat, I don't think was ever in legitimate danger, but he takes shots. He will eat shots to get inside, to get you to the ground. If he puts his hands on you, you're going to the floor. Like, I think that is a truism. Right? But he's going to eat shots coming in.
That's right.
And Ian McGarry is a crisp puncher.
He can crack.
He can bang. He has a win over MVP. Whatever. But, wins over Jeff Neal, Neil Magny. And he's taken some damage going back to his fight with Kenan Song. Ian Gary looked like he was in trouble in that fight and came back and got the TKO. And
here's the thing. Gary has really solid defense. And that's what you're going to need. And that's what's really going to make the matchup more interesting is that Rakhmonov, not only is he going to take some damage, but he's also going to have to crack some of that Gary defense. And that's going to be fun to watch, number one. And I think Rakhmonov's going to actually get it done. But I do think we're going to see a really solid challenge for Rakhmonov. And I think we're going to see Gary either choke or he's going to really shine and we're going to get an upset.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a race to the finish, which is, can Gary do enough damage to Shavkat to prevent him from getting inside?
Yeah.
If he can't and Shavkat can get inside, I think it's a short night.
It's over.
But I think it's going to be a really interesting test of wills to see whose game cracks first. Can you keep him at bay with the striking and get the win, get it to either a TKO or a decision?
Right.
Or does Shavkat's grappling and ability to take a punch supersede that?
We'll see.
I'm excited for this one. I really, really am excited for this one. This is, and I'm going to say this a few times during this podcast, this has the potential to be fight of the night.
There are a lot of fights of the night happening.
There are so many potential fights of the night. Pantoja Asakura could be fight of the night.
Could be.
Right? And this is putting flyweight, I think, back on the map. So I'm excited for that. Shavkat Gary, to me, is a really good eliminator for who should be fighting for the title next. Who should be getting Bilal next at welterweight. I'm excited for that. And then, right before the co-main, we got Cyril Gane, Alexander Volkov.
Two.
This is an interesting one.
Back to the heavyweights.
And for Cyril Gane, let's see if he's really so back.
And I'd like for him to be. And listen, the line is wide with these two, and I think for good reason. Because I think what it's going to come down to is footwork.
Okay.
Tiny little detail, but Volkov stands there. He's going to bang, but he's going to stand there.
Yeah.
Gane is going to come in. He may not be the most technical striker, but he's going to come in, he's going to move. He's going to get lateral, he's going to work angles. He's going to try to pick apart the various fronts of Volkov's defense until he can get on the inside, punch to the body, then bring it all the way upstairs. And I think we're going to see Gane pull it out again.
I think so too. Alexander Volkov will always have a place in my heart and in my fandom for being the man who dispatched convicted wife beater Greg Hardy.
That's right.
So I'll always love him for that. And I think he's a tough heavyweight. But I think Cyril Gane is, as far as heavyweights go, he is a precise striker.
Yes.
And I think that was on display when he fought Tai Tuivasa, right? Tai blitzed him a lot. And Cyril is composed. He is technical. He is surgical. And other than his loss to John Jones, I haven't really seen too many cracks in the armor that is Cyril Gane, other than, of course, the loss to Francis Ngannou, which...
Right. But if those are your losses...
Right. John Jones and Francis Ngannou are your only losses as a mixed martial artist in what has been a short career. Because his first fight was in 2018.
Wow.
In a 6-year career, the only two losses are to John Jones, arguably the greatest mixed martial artist of all time, Francis Ngannou, arguably the greatest heavyweight of all time. And if you wanted to tell me he was the greatest mixed martial artist of all time, I'd tell you it was too soon, but I'd listen to your argument.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and other than that, right, wins over Sergey Spivak, Tai Tuivasa, Derek Lewis, Alexander Volkov, Jairzinho Rosenstruck, Junior Dos Santos, Tanner Bozer, right? Dante Miles, like...
It's a storied career.
It's he's not fighting tomato cans.
That's right.
He's not fighting soup cans. He's getting after it. But I do agree with your analysis. Eileen Gane. But you never know in the heavyweights.
You never know.
Because
you only need one.
You only need one. Truly. You only need one. Right? Like if Asakura Pantoja ends in a knockout, I'm surprised.
Yeah.
If a heavyweight bout ends in a knockout, I'm like, all right, great. I don't have to watch them breathless in the third.
Right.
But what I like about this heavyweight bout is these are two fairly athletic heavyweights.
That's true.
These are not to disparage the man. These are not the Derek Lewises.
No.
These are not the guys who are gassing out after round 2.
These are guys who are going to get after it. These are like the Tom Aspinalls. That sort of strain of heavyweight, that's what we're dealing with here.
And I've been saying for a while, I think the era of the athletic heavyweight in the UFC is slowly making its return, right? Stipe was a super athletic heavyweight. He was a wrestler. He had a great gas tank. Obviously, John Jones, great gas tank.
Sure.
Tom Aspinall, right? This man he's not heavy because he's carrying a spare tire. He's heavy because he's just a big fucking dude.
He got more engine. That's
right. He's got a lot of horsepower, but this is a dude that's looking cut coming off the bus. And shout out to the co-main event for that phrase. I'm stealing that from another podcast, coming off the bus. So we try to keep a little integrity here in journalism.
Deep cuts.
Shout outs to Ben and Chad. Yeah, I think it's a return to the athletic age of heavyweights, which I think was a more exciting time in the heavyweight division.
Absolutely.
Let's see where we go with it. Well, no, let me back that up. This is not going to be fight of the night. Bryce Mitchell, Kron Gracie. Ice Cream Kron.
It will not be fight of the night.
Maybe in 2009?
Perhaps.
Which I believe is when Kron Gracie won ADCC.
Yes.
It's
But
09.
that's ADCC.
That is ADCC.
That's not UFC.
That's not UFC.
That's not what's happening.
And Bryce Mitchell is a UFC fighter.
That's right. Very different.
I'm trying to figure out, and I know your research is thorough. The integrity of it is beyond reproach. Have you figured out why this is on the main card?
I have not. However, I do have a postulate, if you will.
Hit me.
I believe that this is the last vestige of the Gracie name. The last vest. This is the last couple of drops. Because I don't see how someone with the one-dimensional, dare I say, outdated styles such as Kron here gets to be on the main card. I don't see how that happens.
You know, I have to agree with you. I guess the Gracie name is still carrying enough weight that it gets you. I mean, Bryce Mitchell, I think, deserves to be on the main card.
Oh, 100%. It's Kron that
It's
I have
Kron
questions about.
that I have questions about. And it's Kron because his last fight, which was in 2023, he got absolutely starched.
That's right.
By Charles Jourdain. Charles Jourdain beat that ass for 3 rounds. And before that, Cub Swanson beat that ass for 3 rounds.
The line is so wide. In negative 800 to plus 475. So, listen, could Kron make something happen? No. I was going to try to give it something. He's not going to make anything happen. I'd be surprised if he does. His striking is abysmal. Okay, I've never seen someone with less timing on the feet. Now, look, if it gets to the ground, I also don't think Mitchell has no ground game. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not so dominant on the ground that Gracie's going to freaking destroy Bryce Mitchell. That's not what's going to happen. There's going to be some ground and pound happening. But that's if they even get to the ground. Because it may be over in the first round. It could happen.
So let's look back. Let's go back to 1993.
Let's
go back to November of 1993. Royce Gracie wins UFC 1. And he wins it because at the time, though there were several martial arts that had been around for a very long time, nobody had really seen Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu before, right? The submission from anywhere type of fighting style was really unseen. And so Royce wins UFC 1, he wins UFC 2, and brings to light Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Mm-hmm. That's 31 years ago.
Right.
Since that time, the Gracie family has gone from being, I think, the keepers of the greatest secret in martial arts to just being a family that is really good at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and what I want to do real quick, because I have so much respect for the man, is separate Roger Gracie from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's completely different class. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, like, the main core Gracies who are still in their minds the greatest martial arts family ever to live. And that may be a conversation we could have.
Sure.
But you're not the greatest martial artist to live.
No.
And sometimes that gets conflated.
Correct. And truthfully, I don't know that they ever were, or if they just had a trick that people needed time to figure out.
And let's get even deeper. We've spoken about before that a purple belt today could probably submit Hickson back in the day.
That was
if we took that.
That was Matt Geiger's position.
And I've come around, because at first I was like, dude, what are you saying?
Right.
Okay.
It's no disrespect to the Gracie name.
None.
What they did for the sport, right? The UFC exists really because of the Gracies, right? Because one of the Gracies moved to Torrance, California, opened up a Gracie gym, met Art Davey. They put together UFC 1 and they entered Royce. So yes. we owe the Gracies a lot. And I've had an opportunity in my life to train at a Gracie school. Shout out to Daniel Gracie, who was an incredible coach. Mm-hmm. All that being said, I don't think that there is any reason Kron Gracie should be on the main card of the biggest UFC pay-per-view of the year.
No.
I just don't see it.
And that's why I think it's the last vestiges of the name. And I also think what we're going to see here is the final nail in the coffin of the Gracie hold on UFC. Yeah. Because I could see that being a strategic play. Like, hey, this is the last Gracie who's going to be in here for a while. Put him in here. Let's see him get starched. And then we can sort of wash our hands of the name for a little while until another one might, humble himself, get on over to B team, start working with some mixed martial artists somewhere else and then make something happen.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't know that Kron Gracie's a better grappler than Bryce Mitchell.
No.
I really don't. Bryce Mitchell's an incredible grappler. He's a fucking weirdo, but he's an incredible grappler.
100%.
Credit where it's due. So,
sorry, Kron.
Yeah, no disrespect to the Gracie name, but it's interesting though, just because I'm old, and I've been around a few iterations of the martial arts eras. The reverence for the Gracie name is kind of gone from what it used to be. Not to say that there aren't still plenty of Gracie schools and that there aren't, Gracie truthers out there, but I feel like 10, 15 years ago, it was still like it was still Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Right. It was still very much Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Now it's kind of just Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah. And if you want to get even more deep into that, now there's American Jiu-Jitsu over at Legion.
And there's a question as to whether or not that's a real thing.
There is a question.
My answer to that has always been, if there is a such thing as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, then there can be a such thing as American Jiu-Jitsu.
I 100% agree. And if you look at what Miha Perhavik and those folks are doing over there, and Keenan Cornelius, there's definitely a difference between what they're doing and what the Gracies are doing.
Absolutely. Right. And again, Matt Geiger will tell you that the only reason that heel hooking and leg reaping is not allowed in the gi competition is because Brazilians and the Gracies didn't know how to defend heel hooks.
If you're listening, IBJJF guys or anyone else, make the gi CJI rules.
Interesting. And if you're a gi nerd and you're listening, chime in and tell us why we're wrong.
Please do.
Tell me what's up.
At 108pod. Come on.
At 108pod. We're not hard to find. We're not hiding.
I'm easy to find.
Easy to find. Now we get to what might be a possible fight of the night.
Agreed.
Nate Landwehr, Doo Ho Choi.
Featherweights.
Banger.
Big banger.
Just a banger. We got the train from Tennessee, Nate Landwehr, who has been he's been on a tear. I don't know. He's been on a tear of great fucking fights.
Yes.
Right? A win over Jamal Emmers, a loss to Dan Ige, a win over Austin Lingo, David Onama, Ludovic Klein, a loss to Julian Erosa, Juicy J, a win over Darren Elkins. But Nate Landwehr is just that dude who will fight until he cannot fight no more.
That's right. But we have to give credit to the sheer power that is Choi. Because that's what's happening.
The Korean Superboy.
That's right.
Yeah.
We have to give credit, but if we look at the record here, it's not inspiring. Especially not as of late. And that, when I say as of late, I mean 2016.
So Doo Ho Choi loses to Cub Swanson in 2016. I'm not going to knock him too badly for that. Cub Swanson in 2016 was, he still had some vestiges of old Cub. But then a loss to Jeremy Stevens, the worst nickname in MMA, second worst nickname in MMA. Jeremy Lil Heathen Stevens.
Yeah.
Second only to Miranda Fear the Maverick. God, I fucking hate you, Miranda Maverick.
There were so many other things you could have done with the last name Maverick.
Right. And she comes out with a Top Gun theme. Like, she comes out with the aviators and the fucking flight suit. Okay. What does Fear the Maverick mean? What the fuck does that mean?
Honestly, I'd prefer it if she did like Goose or something.
Or just did nothing, right? Yeah, just Miranda Maverick and come out with the Top Gun theme.
Double M.
It's kitschy, but I'll go with it.
Yeah.
I digress.
We do.
Looking at Doo Ho Choi's record, I'm leaning Nate Landwehr.
Here's why I'm going to say that if you find $5, go with Choi. Landwehr's getting kind of chinny. And you know that it only takes one. Even in the featherweight division, when somebody starts to get that chin rocked just a little bit, we could see a little bit of an upset here. I do think it's going to be fight of the night. I think it's going to be a close fight. It could even go to decision. I wouldn't be mad.
No.
But I think you could make a case either way. And if you're going with Landwehr, I'm going to represent, and I'm going to go with Choi.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think these are, boil it down to its most basic parts. Doo Ho Choi, the Korean Superboy, Nate the Train Landwehr are just two dudes that are going to get in there and fight for your money.
That's right.
That's what they're going to do. And that's why I say this is a potential fight of the night banger. An interesting fight preceding it, Dominic Reyes, Anthony Smith.
Interesting in the light heavyweights.
Two guys who are probably at the very tail end of their career.
I'd say.
Dominic Reyes, I think, has a legitimate win over John Jones. Mm-hmm. And since then, Dominic Reyes has not done much. And Dominic Reyes got extremely chinny, getting stopped by Jan Blachowicz, Yuri Prohaska, and Ryan Spann back to back to back to back. A win over Dustin Jacoby earlier this year.
Okay.
Which might be the worst thing for Dominic Reyes, because it might have him thinking he's so back.
It may.
I don't think that Dom Reyes is so back. I think that chin left him when he fought Jan, and I don't think it's ever going to come back. And for that reason, and because I am a fan of Anthony Smith,
yes,
I'm leaning Anthony Smith.
I'm with you there, and mostly because of the super fan that we both know of Anthony Smith.
Sure.
And so there is a cultural attachment that I have to Anthony Smith, but also Anthony Smith, although he is spotty, LW, although he's spotty, we know what he's got, and we know what he's bringing. And we know that there's consistency even in the inconsistency. And I'd say he's due for a win.
I think so.
I'd say he's due for a win.
He lost, his most recent fight was a loss to Roman Dolidze. Yep. Before that, a win over Petrino. Before that, a loss to Khalil Roundtree. Yeah, I think he's due for one. I think this is probably, until he decides to retire, this is probably the Anthony Smith we'll see.
Yeah.
He's a great mixed martial artist, and he's good in a lot of places. He's got good grappling. He's decent on the feet. He's rangy. He's tall. And I think he probably just kind of missed the mark on ever getting to a belt. Lost to John Jones. It was, if you were a light heavyweight in the John Jones era of light heavyweights, you were going to miss your mark for the belt.
That's right.
Everybody did.
Everyone.
Anthony Smith being one of them. Now he's, I think, 40 years old. And still a great mixed martial artist, but I just don't think, I think he peaked in that moment, and since then it's just been kind of more of the same win-loss, win-loss, win-loss.
And look, he's a solid journeyman.
So that's what, he's a gatekeeper, right? He is a gatekeeper.
That's right.
I don't know that we're looking at fight of the night on this one.
No, I wouldn't say. But we could always get surprised.
You could always be surprised. That's the most beautiful thing about this sport is the surprise. Mm-hmm. And speaking of, Vicente Luque, Themba Gorimbo.
That's right.
This is a good one.
This is a good one. Let's take a quick break, and then let's reload, recalibrate, re-engage.
Re-engage. Reliquid death.
Reliquid death.
Let's do that.
All right.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
Welcome back to the 10-8 round mixed martial art. We are still working our way through this card because there really is just something to say about everything here. When we last left you, we were getting ready to talk Vicente Luque, Themba Gorimbo. How do you feel about this one?
Welterweight division, I'm leaning Themba.
Okay.
Let's just come out the gate and say he's on a winning streak. He's on a hot streak right now. Mm-hmm. He's got some things happening. And I think what's happening here is this is Themba's first step into some high-level competition. And I think I'm happy with that. I think we're trying to give him a chance to get a little further in the division, which we like. And I also think Luque's good. He's a very high-level fighter. But he has this thing where he loses to really highly ranked fighters. And so I think he may be becoming that journeyman status in the division, and I think that's a good thing. And I think that's what Gorimbo's going to be here. He's going to come through, he's going to see, we're going to test him, see how he does against Luque, and then we'll go from there.
Here's an interesting fact about Themba Gorimbo. He had 4 amateur fights. Mm-hmm. Do you know what his amateur record was?
What was it?
0-4.
There it is.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
I don't know what else to say about it. It's just interesting. And again, you're right. Like there's no taking away from him that he has a hot streak going right now, and an impressive hot streak. Right, Takashi Soto, Pete Rodriguez, Ramiz Brahmaj, or Brahimaj, I believe is the pronunciation.
That's right.
And then Nico Price, who once upon a time was somebody. His only loss in the UFC is to AJ Fletcher via submission, guillotined. So, yeah, I guess I'm with you on Themba. I don't really know. I don't know who he's going to show up to be to fight Vicente Luque. Vicente Luque is a tough customer, though.
Definitely. But the recent record has been
spotty.
Spotty.
I would say spotty.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair. Is Themba Gorimbo the only active UFC fighter from Zimbabwe?
I believe that could be the truth.
I think so.
Yeah.
And he is known as the answer. So we've got the truth and we've got the answer.
There we go.
Yeah, fuck it. I don't know. I'll rock with you on Themba Gorimbo.
Why
I mean,
not?
why not? I'd like to see him do something. He seems like an interesting fighter. Clearly somebody who did not shrivel at the sight of adversity.
That's right.
After going 0-4 as an AMI. Mm-hmm. So
Came back, brought it back.
brought it back. Yeah. Now,
I like that.
we got to cover some fuckery.
Yeah.
We got to cover a little disrespect.
Big disrespect.
Big disrespect. Aljamain, the Funk Master, Sterling, is on the prelims.
The fuck?
Taking on Movsar Ivlev.
What's happening?
There is some sort of hatred that Dana White carries for Aljo.
Definitely there.
There is some sort of just disdain that he feels for the Funk Master. And I don't totally understand it. I can't say I totally get it.
Sometimes Dana White chooses these guys that he's just going to be against.
Yeah.
And sometimes that makes those guys better.
That's
Sometimes.
true. Aljo, obviously a favorite of ours, a Long Islander, a tough fucking dude, a former champion.
Dare I say, one of the most skilled mixed martial artists on the planet.
I think so. His
Yeah.
grappling is I think, second to none. His last loss was when he dropped the belt to Sugar Sean O'Malley.
Right.
Right. And, before that, his last loss was to Marlon Moraes in 2017.
Right.
And went on a run of all runs with so many submissions. You're right about the bubbles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
It's
hits.
the bubbles.
It hits.
The bubbles will get you.
24-4-0. Come on. Now look, Ivloyev 18-0-0. That's what he's coming with. My thinking is that Ivloyev is being set up as a contender for Topuria.
Sure.
I think that's what's happening.
I'd agree.
I just don't think that Sterling is going to get washed in this, though. In fact, I would go so far as to say that I favor Sterling here.
I mean, I don't see any reason not to, right? I mean, it's Aljamain Sterling. This is a fucking who's who. And Ivlev, a submission fighter, won most of his fights by decision. I believe in the UFC has won all of his fights by decision, which just tells me that Aljo's going to have 3 rounds to work with and grapple.
He's got time.
And he is an incredible grappler.
Second to none.
Second to none. So, yeah, he's up a weight class, obviously, from where he lost the belt, but he's got a win over Calvin Kattar, who's not nobody, and he's Aljamain Sterling. I don't quite know when it was that Dana White decided he hated Aljamain Sterling. I don't know if it was when Aljo took the disqualification win over Piotr Jan after Jan hit him with the down knee. I don't really know. I'm not quite sure what the deal is, what the beef is. Maybe we'll look into that and publish something about it.
We'll report out.
We'll report out. But you've got an 18-0 featherweight in Movsar Ivlev, taking on a former champion in Aljamain Sterling, and this is a possible banger. How is this on the fucking prelims?
I don't know, and I think we're going to see some really good grappling. I'm so confused by where this is on the card that in my mind this deserves to be at least higher than Kron Gracie.
Well, so here's the thing, right? You could very easily argue that it should be higher than Vicente and Gorimbo. Mm-hmm. You could very easily argue it should be higher than Dom Reyes, Anthony Smith.
Yeah.
2 light heavyweights on the tail ends of their career. Are they going to have a good fight? I hope so.
Sure.
But are you going to tell me that a fucking prospect at featherweight taking on a former champion shouldn't be higher? And then, not to disrespect Bryce Mitchell, but you're going to tell me Kron Gracie should be ahead of Aljo on a card?
Come on.
It's criminal.
Come on.
You could make an argument this should be ahead of Cyril Gane, Alexander Volkov.
When I look at Aljo's record, here on ESPN, they show 6 fights. There's 1 L, Sugar Sean.
Sure.
All before that are belt symbols.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah.
It's not like he got starched and then his career started tanking. He won his last fight.
Right. He beat Calvin Kattar in his
That's
last
right.
fight. It's just, to me, it's just disrespect. It's fuckery. It's fuckery of the highest caliber. I don't understand the Aljo disrespect. I think if I was a betting man, I would say that the Dana disrespect of Aljo is because Aljo is what Dana would call a grapple fucker, meaning that he wins his fight. But it's a mixed martial arts fight. If my grappling martial art is better than your striking martial art, why would I strike with you?
And listen, Evloev is not coming in not being a grapple fucker.
Also
That's his
true.
bread and butter.
Also true.
So
I guess because it's two grapple fuckers, they decided to put this on the prelims. I find it disrespectful to Aljo. This is an Aljo dungeon.
yes.
So Aljo, if you're listening, and I'm sure you are, just know the 10-8 boys are rocking with you.
100%. 10 toes down.
10 toes down. Another banger alert, though.
Uh-oh.
Let's not waste too much time here because we got another banger in Randy Rude Boy Brown taking on Brian Pooh Bear Battle.
Pooh Bear.
I know you changed your nickname, Brian, but I'm sorry. I just like Pooh Bear so much better.
What is it now? Now I'm
The
so locked in
Butcher.
the Pooh. Okay.
It's the Brian the Butcher Battle.
Okay, I also like that.
I mean, it's cool on its own, but you can't go out there as Pooh Bear and then change it to the Butcher.
Wasn't John Jones Sexy Chocolate?
He might have been. I think he was Sexy Chocolate at some point. What is he now? Does John Jones have a nickname now?
Bones?
It's Bones.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Bones Jones, I guess. I don't know. Sexy Chocolate to Bones, but like Pooh Bear to the Butcher?
Yeah. In fact, they kind of go together if you think about it. It kind of creates an arc. Pooh Bear, the Butcher.
Maybe.
I like it.
You like it? I don't know. To me, he's still Pooh Bear.
And why not? In fact, Brian Pooh Bear the Butcher battle.
Pooh Bear yeah, I mean, combine it all, right? Put
Why
it together here. Well, Pooh Bear the Butcher is he's riding high right now. Not only after beating Kevin Jousset the fuck up, but then of allegedly getting himself banned from the city of Paris.
Tracks.
Giving the entire crowd what we call the double middle freedom rockets, and that's two birds in one bush. He's feeling himself.
And he should.
He's kind of becoming like the Stone Cold Steve Austin of the UFC.
There you go.
Right? In that he has this heel persona, but everybody fucking loves it. And I'm here for it.
Oh, yeah.
And he's taken on a tough customer here.
100%.
Randy Rude Boy Brown.
Now, listen. I think we're seeing some more Duplessis effect coming in here.
Go on.
When I look at Brown, a very technical fighter.
Yeah.
He's really going to try to pick you apart.
Sure.
Dare I say, kind of like Adesanya. In terms of the tactics.
Yeah.
Maybe not in terms of style, but definitely in terms of tactics. And then you got Brian Battle, who is perhaps the quintessential pressure fighter.
Yeah.
He's going to put it on you, okay? Combined with some solid technical proficiency, that's not going to wilt behind anything that Brown's going to really throw at him. That's not to say that something couldn't happen. I think this is going to be a close fight, me personally. But I do think that Brian Battle's going to come in and he's going to break Randy down through sheer force of will. Because Brian Battle don't stop.
He doesn't stop. And I take the same conclusion, but maybe a different approach to get there. Sure. I think Brian Battle's going to win. I think this is a fun stylistic matchup, but I think when you look at Brian Battle's wins versus Randy Brown's wins, I think Brian Battle, even in his short time in the UFC, has outclassed Randy Rude Boy Brown, right? So he's on a 3-fight winning streak, but it's Eleju Santos, Muslim Salikov, Wellington Thurmain, and then a loss to Jack Della Maddalena, Francisco Trinaldo, Kalen Williams, Jared Gooden, Alex Oliveira, a loss to Vicente Luque. To me, Randy Brown is a journeyman fighter.
Sure.
And I think Brian is hot right now. I think he's streaky and moving up a little bit. So I think MMA math tells me to lean Pooh Bear the Butcher. And I just like Brian Battle, so I want to lean him. Maybe it's confirmation bias there. I don't think so, but I digress.
It's still a good choice either way.
It's a good choice either way. I think the math tracks either way on that one. A reschedule. Another Long Islander.
In the early prelims.
Chris, the All-American Weidman.
Oh, yeah.
Coming for Eric, ya boy, Anders.
Who backed out of the last matchup they had because of a sickness.
Some kind of illness.
We'll call that legit. Call it legit. I will say that the odds for these two, they're both in the negative, which means that the bookies are confused.
And it's a confusing time. Right, Eric Anders, probably your pretty prototypical UFC journeyman. This is a catchweight fight at 195. I'm guessing because of his illness, Eric Anders was struggling to get back down to middleweight at 185. So they're letting him do it at 195.
Right. Which means Weidman is a freaking dog who doesn't care about the fucking numbers.
And he doesn't, right? That's Chris Weidman through and through. Much like Aljo, I'm a Chris Weidman stan. Good friend of the podcast, Tim Green, whose hoodie I'm wearing today, is Chris Weidman's possibly biggest fan. And I think I mentioned last time we recorded a podcast, Tim and I watched Chris Weidman's last fight, and was just the toxicity was palpable.
Yes.
I have a video of us watching the decision get read, and the toxicity is palpable. We were there with another friend of the podcast, our boy Jay Bishop.
Oh, yeah.
Jay was in the crowd, so it was me, Timmy, and Jay just getting absolutely raucous in the crowd for that. I don't know how to lean on this one, I'm going to be honest. Eric Anders is a pretty prototypical journeyman. I don't know that he'll ever move beyond the current station that he's in, but he's a good mixed martial artist. Chris Weidman, in his time, one of the best middleweights to ever do it. Defeated Anderson the Spider Silva twice, right? But then against the fight, Uriah Hall, he shattered his leg. And is he ever going to be quite the same while he also fights the hands of time? Because I think Chris Weidman is 40 or is close to 40. He's 6 years older than me. So I think he's 40. So you're 40 years old, and 3 fights ago, you shattered your whole shit. I don't, what do you do when you have a journeyman who still has some gas left in the tank versus an arguable one of the all-time greats who maybe doesn't have much left in the tank? And where does that scale balance? I don't know.
But I'm going to keep the same analysis that I gave the last time that I had in my notes, which is that I still think that Weidman is a better overall fighter.
Sure.
Even with the leg.
Yeah.
Even with the leg. I think the ground game is dominant.
Yep.
I think that Anders, yes, has some power, has some life left, but I think this could be a battle of heart. And if we're talking about battle of heart, I'm going to give it to Weidman.
I'm not going to argue that analysis. I'm hard-pressed to ever pick against Chris Weidman.
This could be a retirement fight.
It could be. It probably should be.
Yeah.
I think it should be. And if that's... I was hoping when I saw him live in March that it was going to be a retirement fight. I would have loved to have been there in person for that. I've got to see some of my favorites retire in person, including Donald Cerrone.
Yep.
I would have loved to have been there for a Weidman retirement announcement on a win. But if it wasn't going to be then, let it be this.
Agreed.
I don't want to see Chris Weidman with nothing in the tank.
Yeah.
And honestly, he looked like he had a great time at the Polaris grappling he did, I think, last year. He went up against Owen Livesey, who's a stud.
That's total stud.
They had a fun grappling match. Like, Chris, just go do grappling matches, brother. We'll tune in. We'll
Absolutely.
watch. Yeah, fuck it.
We'll bring Matt Geiger back, maybe a couple other folks.
Yeah, we got some jiu-jitsu people. We could do a fun jiu-jitsu pod. I'll cover that all day. Cody Durden, Joshua Van.
Wow. Flyweight. Great matchup.
Really great matchup.
Really good matchup. I will say, big age difference. 10 years.
Is there a 10-year difference?
Yeah, 23. That's Joshua Van, and Cody Durden is 33.
Yeah, Cody Durden's about my... Wow, Cody Durden and I have the same birthday.
Look at that.
Wow, he is exactly 1 year younger than I am.
Boom.
Yeah, March 29th. Shout out to the Aries Energy.
Shout out.
Big shout out. I'm a Cody Durden guy. I'm a Cody Durden believer. I think his losses are, by and large, pretty good losses. Bruno Silva and Muhammad Makayev jumping out to me most specifically. So I'm kind of a Cody Durden believer.
Rip Muhammad Makayev.
Yeah, big rip there.
Big rip.
Where is he fighting now?
No clue.
Yeah,
and that's a travesty.
He's fighting in a parking lot in Russia somewhere.
Smokers.
Yeah, I don't really know what. That's a big shame. Joshua Van from Myanmar.
Look at that.
Interesting.
Is he the only... How do you even... Is he the only active fighter from Myanmar?
Myanmarian?
Yeah.
Is my best guess. I don't actually know if he is or not. I'm rocking with Cody Durden.
I'm going to go Joshua Van. And I think because the striking of Joshua Van is a bit better than Cody Durden. I do think Cody Durden has improved remarkably in the striking department. But however, I think we're going to see some really dominant boxing from Van. And if Cody Durden is going to make something happen, it's going to be with some wrestling.
Yeah. So Charles Johnson has a win over Joshua Van, has a loss to Cody Durden. On that math alone, and because of Durden's durability, because of his experience. I'm going to rock with him.
No problem.
Yeah. Should we take a break to address that noise?
Quick break.
Quick break. Well, the ghosts were a knockin', created a little bit of noise we had to deal with, and that's just kind of par for the course here in Area 52. Shout out to the ghost of Mr. Pendleton, who accidentally hit the dehumidifier. It happens. And we are committed to bringing the best product possible, so we had a quick chat with Mr. Pendleton. He's agreed to not turn it on again.
Some holy water and 9 mil.
That's it. Holy water, 9 mil, and maybe a 45 if necessary. But we're close to the end of the card here. We'll go right to the next one here. Michael Maverick Chiesa, possibly my favorite fighter on the UFC roster. I've been a Michael Chiesa fan since he won TUF, which was longer ago than I'd like to admit. I believe it was 2015. Taking on Max Griffin.
Yeah. Now look, the math on this says one thing.
Go on.
I think it says Max Griffin, given the solid standing skills, he's a great overall fighter. He is unproven on the ground. We'll say unproven. We'll say. And then you've got Chiesa with the dominant wrestling, the strong ground game. So I think if Chiesa can close the distance, neutralize the striking, and get him on the ground, 100%. Now, given that math, which honestly is not earth-shattering math, it just leans a little bit one way, carry the one. I'm still going with Michael Chiesa based off of culture and the long history of him in this podcast.
Yeah.
Alone.
Yeah, Michael Chiesa has a 10-8 sticker on his Hydro Flask water bottle, which I was starstruck to give him. And then he and I took a photo together where we did our junior high wrestling pose. If you're watching at home, that looks something like this. But I don't know. I think the math here might actually lean Chiesa.
Oh.
While Max Griffin is a tough stand and bang fighter, he had 3 losses in the last few years, right? Vicente Luque, Sean Brady, Kevin Holland. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say that all 3 of those fighters are better fighters than Max Griffin.
You're not wrong.
Now, his last win was over Tony Ferguson. Let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
But before that, a win over Neil Magny, Diego Sanchez, RDA, and Carlos Condit. To me, those wins are all better than Max Griffin.
So when we look at the tape, and we look at the numbers, we're going to see Chiesa come out a little bit on top in terms of the full math. My only concern is that Max Griffin does have some stand and bang in him, and I want to make sure to give credit where credit is due.
Sure.
Just because if it stays on the feet and doesn't go to another level, I do think we see Max Griffin make something happen.
I think in spite of how long in the tooth his career is at this point, Chiesa has shown improvement on the feet, if for no other reason than as a methodology of getting you up against the cage for a quick, effective single or double leg, back take, rear naked choke, right? Like his game plan's always been the same. I think he's shown enough improvement on the feet that I feel comfortable, even fandom aside, I'm leaning Michael Chiesa.
Let the record show that I have Michael Chiesa here bolded. He is my pick.
Yeah. Chiesa's in. Second to last fight, and a confusing fight.
The Tyson Paul of the night.
Possibly. We got Clay Guida taking on Chase Hooper. Chase Hooper is a man born again hard. He is born again hard.
Oh, yeah.
So Chase Hooper for a long time was a truly one-dimensional fighter. And if you've been a long-time fan of the 10-8 podcast, you'll remember a few years ago, John Boy and I posited that Chase Hooper should retire from MMA and be a full-time grappler because his grappling was that good and his stand-up was that fucking bad. Now he's on a 3-fight win streak. His last win over Borshlev.
Yeah.
He actually looked incredible on the feet.
Indeed.
Incredible on the feet. He is truly born again hard.
We watched that fight together.
Yes, we did.
We were like, holy shit.
We were blown the fuck away. Couldn't believe it. On our feet cheering. Chase Hooper is born again hard. I am excited for the arc of his career. He is 25 years old. Clay Guida, the carpenter.
Indeed.
Who is well into his 40s.
42.
He is 42, and he just doesn't care. He will just keep fighting.
And big props to him. Big, huge
props. Huge props.
But
But
I don't know if I... Now, listen. Can Clay Guida clip Chase Hooper and make something happen? Maybe.
maybe.
That old man strength hits.
It is possible. Here's just a fun statistic for everybody at home. Clay Guida made his professional MMA debut when Chase Hooper was 3 years old.
Wow.
He made his Strikeforce debut when Chase Hooper was 7 years old. And he made his UFC debut also when Chase Hooper was 7 years old. That's just a mind-blowing statistic and a testament to just what a fucking dog Clay Guida is.
Oh, yeah.
I've met Clay Guida. I met him at a Fury grappling card. I took a
Unhinged.
picture of him and Alex Caceres. He is as unhinged outside of the cage as he is in it. He's an incredible wrestler. He still carries that same wrestler pace and energy of just, I'm just going to go until you kill me or I kill you. The smart money is Chase Hooper. 110%.
Yeah.
Chase Hooper is an incredible grappler, so Clay Guida's wrestling is not really, I don't think, a threat to Chase Hooper.
I don't think so.
And now that Chase has gotten better on the feet,
Much better.
I think he can control it to the ground. But again, it's Clay Guida. So I don't know, if you found $5 in your pants pockets before you put it in, you want to throw it down on Clay Guida, I wouldn't tell you it was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. It's fucking Clay Guida. I don't know.
Clay Guida coming in at 5'7", Chase Hooper 6'1".
Yeah.
It's just... Now,
It's
listen,
interesting.
it is interesting. What an interesting matchup. The matchmakers are doing some interesting work. I don't know what this does for Chase Hooper, though.
0. And that's my only problem with this.
Yeah.
My only problem with this at all is that Chase Hooper's hot right now.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you giving him an aging veteran at lightweight? You have to be able to find another aging vet at lightweight to give Clay Guida, who every fight for Clay Guida could be a retirement fight, or
Right.
he could fight for another decade, and I just don't know.
You never know.
You never know with Clay Guida. Like on paper, it's kind of fun, kind of funky, kind of interesting, etc. But in reality, this fight I don't think needed to happen, right? It can only harm Chase Hooper's career. And it's not like it's really going to move the needle for Clay Guida either. Like if he gets a shot in on Chase Hooper and flatlines him, you're not like, oh, well, this is the Clay Guida time. It's not going to happen, right? It's not there.
And the fight against Vyacheslav Borslev really convinced
Excellent pronunciation.
me. Thank you.
Really excellent.
Thank you. I practiced that.
Credit where that is due.
That really convinced me that Chase Hooper, not only born again hard, but he's also he's got strategy and tactics now.
Agreed.
Because look, Slavoclaws, he's not an easy customer. In fact, I believe during the promo for the show, for that particular fight, Chase Hooper said, "Look, Vyacheslav, that's my guy. That's actually who I patterned my striking off of."
Right.
And for him to outstrike his blueprint. Come on now.
I get it. I'm with you. I'm completely with you. I guess we'll see.
We'll see.
One fight left. Kennedy Njoku, Lucas Brzezinski.
Yeah.
How you feeling? I like Kennedy.
I also like Kennedy here. I think he's got more tools. And sometimes that's all you need. It's just more tools. More fronts to attack the enemy. He's got technical and powerful strikes. I do think that Brzezinski's got that counter grappling thing going where he's going to try to capitalize on a mistake from Njoku and make something happen. But he has shown that he has some trouble against higher tier fighters and that's strikers, and that's what we're going to see from Njoku. I mean, he's proven at this point.
Njoku or Njoku?
I think that sometimes the N is silent. Like when you say Njobu, the is so silent that it's basically Jobu.
Interesting.
It is. And I'm happy to be corrected 100%.
I can guarantee you I am not going to be the one to do that.
If you'd like to, I'd be happy to feel that.
I am here to learn. I am here to listen, to learn, to grow.
I think so.
Kennedy, last name redacted, a.k.a. the American Savage.
Tracks.
Yeah. I think I'm rocking with him over Brzezinski. We'll see. It's a good curtain jerker. I think it's fun. Top to bottom. I'm not going to miss a fight on this card. I'm not going to miss a single one.
No.
We're gonna grub it up. We're gonna bust a grub. I don't know, and then maybe I'll smoke something.
Pistols on the table to change the vibe.
To change up the vibe a little bit. Pistols at dawn, fights at night. Yeah, I can't say much more. Should we do a little beginner's luck before we get to a brief face-off?
Let's do it.
We'll start at the top.
Very top.
For those of you uninitiated, Beginner's Luck is a segment that we do as Coltrane continues his mixed martial arts journey. He's probably not much of a beginner anymore, but I like the name of the segment.
Yeah.
So we start at the top, we go to the bottom. Coltrane's going to give us the odds, and then he's going to say who he's rocking with. And I think for the end of the year, we'll have to get some full numbers.
Oh, yeah.
So that'll give a little homework.
It'll cap it.
We'll do it. So starting at the top, Alexandre Pantoja, Asakura.
Pantoja coming in as the favorite at negative 280. Asakura at plus 230, and we're going with Pantoja.
All right. Going down to Shavkat Rakhmonov, Ian Gary.
Rakhmonov is the favorite at negative 390, with Gary coming in as the underdog plus 290.
Wow.
And I'm going with Rakhmonov, and I think that line is a little wide.
That is a little wide. It's a little wide.
It's a little disrespectful.
A little bit. Cyril Gane, Alexander Volkov.
Gane is the favorite at negative 340. Volkov coming in at plus 260, and we're going with Gane.
Yeah. Bryce Mitchell, Kron Gracie.
Mitchell coming in as the heavy favorite at negative 800. Gracie coming in at plus 475.
I just wonder in 1993 if you would have told Hoist Gracie like one of your lineage is going to be like a fucking 3-1, 4-1 dog on a UFC card, what they would have said about that. But
cried.
Yeah, but fair enough. Nate the Train Landwehr, Korean Superboy Dooho Choi.
Landwehr coming in at negative 140. Choi coming in at plus 120. I think that's appropriate. But we're going to go with Choi just to change up the vibe.
First dog pick of the card to change up the vibe.
Yeah, that's right.
Dominic Reyes, Anthony Lionheart Smith.
Reyes coming in as the favorite at negative 360. Smith at plus 270. We're rocking with Smith. The dogs are barking.
Wow. That's a disrespectful line in my opinion.
I think so. I think that's wild.
Vicente Luque, Themba Garimbo.
Luque, the underdog at plus 130. Garimbo, the fave at negative 155. And we're going with Garimbo.
Mavsar Ivlev taking on Aljamain Funkmaster Sterling.
Ivloyev coming in as the favorite at negative 265. Sterling, the underdog, at plus 250. Sorry, the blasphemy stopped my tongue at 215.
Yeah.
And we're going with Aljo.
I agree. Wow, that's a disrespectful line.
Jeez.
Randy Rude Boy Brown, Brian, the Pooh Bear Butcher Battle.
That's right. Brown coming in as the underdog plus 190. Battle coming in negative 235 for the favorite. And we're going with Pooh Bear the Butcher.
That makes us wonder, is he a butcher named Pooh Bear? Ooh. Or is he a butcher of Pooh Bears in a nod to killing your old self?
I like it.
We got to think
I like the latter, honestly.
Chime in. Let us know how you feel about Pooh Bear the Butcher.
At 108pod.
At 108pod. We're not hard to find. Chris Weidman taking on Eric Yaboy Anders.
Double negatives here. Weidman coming at negative 115. Anders at negative 105. The bookies are confused. We're going to kind of call this a catch-em. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, not a catch-em. We're at catch-weight. A pick-em.
A pick-em.
And we're going to go with Weidman here because technically there's no favorite and no underdog. However, Anders has slightly better odds.
Sure. Cody Durden, Joshua Van.
Durden is the underdog at plus 130. Van is the favorite at negative 155. And we're going to go with Van.
Interesting.
I'm going to go with Van.
You're going to go with Van?
Yeah.
This is your segment. Michael Chiesa, Max Griffin.
Chiesa coming in as the underdog at plus 105. Griffin at negative 125. Come on. You know who we're going with.
You already know who we're going with. Clay Guida, Chase Hooper.
Guida as the underdog at plus 650. Hooper the favorite at negative 1150.
Holy shit.
So, listen, if you got a 5 spot, pop it on Clay. But
just for fun.
Listen.
Don't ever expect to see that 5 again.
Never. However, put that money on Chase Hooper.
Yeah, I think so. Kennedy Zujukwu taking on Lucas Brzezinski.
Good old Ken coming in at the favorite at negative 650 with Lucas coming in as the underdog at plus 425. And we're going to go with old Ken.
Ken, last name redacted. Ken Masters.
It's all Ken.
It's just good old Ken. Well, that concludes beginner's luck. We're going to take a sip. We're going to take a second. We're going to come back for a brief face-off. We'll see you in a second.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome back for the final installation of the incomparable 10-8 round mixed martial arts podcast. A little section we call the face-off. This is we're light this week.
Yeah, super light.
We're light in the fuckery, which is a good thing.
It is good sometimes to have a break.
It gave us the ability to, I think, really get deep on that card, the last numbered card of the year of our Lord 2024.
That's right.
And I think we did it justice.
I agree.
But we could talk about one of two things. We got a new addition to the ever-growing Fight Pass Invitational grappling roster in one Mikey Darth Rigatoni Musumeci. Mm-hmm. And we also have a brief recap of UFC 309.
Let's start with Musumeci.
Yeah, let's start with Mikey. Mikey obviously departed from one, where he had a home for quite a while, with Chatri Sichidong.
Yeah.
He immediately announced that he was going to sign with the UFC. Presumably for the UFC is trying to grow, and Dana White has said explicitly in 2025, the UFC is covering all things combat sports.
Yes.
So they're trying to grow their grappling roster. Mikey's a huge pickup.
And let me just say this, because we can't acknowledge enough the cultural impact of CJI. Because here's my postulate here. Everybody wants a little bit of grappling involved in their promotion. Everybody.
Right.
However, I think that when everyone sat down and saw how many people, how much money changed hands for CJI, they were like, all right, let's put some gas behind our grappling efforts.
Yeah.
And I think this addition to that promotion,
it's a direct result.
Because I don't think Musumeci was coming over to the UFC. I don't think the UFC was talking anything cool before CJI. I want to say that.
I think you might have a valid point there. Because CJI really, and this is, we're going back to August here.
Oh, yeah.
People were excited for grappling. Really excited. Usually, even ADCC, it's the nerds that are excited. But non-grapplers were asking me about CJI. They were like, what's the deal here? What's the story with this? What's going on? And I think maybe it's a resurgence of the popularity. Maybe it's a new plateau in popularity for the grappling arts. And CJI, obviously, they took a big shot and they hit the mark. They hit
100%.
A bullseye from 50 yards. So, yeah, you might be right. That might be why the UFC said, fuck it, let's capitalize.
And I'm happy for it.
Yeah.
I'm super happy for it. And I think what I'd like to see is in the future, as some of these guys begin to retire from MMA, they sort of just start funneling right on over to, look, Luke Rockhold, love to see him getting some shit in.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, he went in there and had a fun one against Pat Downey. I think it's awesome. I hope that I've watched the Fight Pass Invitationals. They had Nicky Rod Gordon on that one.
Oh, yeah.
Nicky Rod just beat Michael Pixley, I believe, on a Fight Pass Invitational. So I like what they're doing. They use a modified EBI rule set, which I think CJI is a better rule set, but it's not that bad. But Mikey has also indicated he might want to get in the cage.
Which, listen, Cade did it. And I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Musumeci do it.
No.
I'd love to see it, actually.
I'd watch. I'd fucking watch it.
I'd see.
Yeah. So hopefully Mikey is just a sign of things to come that, look, for those of us who are truly baptized in all things combat sports, and I really mean that. You can catch me on a random Wednesday morning at 6:00 watching a Muay Thai fight in Thailand.
That's right.
I watch the Fight Pass Invitationals, the CJI, the
ADCCs,
Karate. I watch Karate Combat, which should tell you all you need to know.
Yeah.
And I tune in for NCAA wrestling because, truthfully, the combat sports is just the shit I like.
Yeah.
I hope we can get more people like that who are not just watching. They're not just watching the the UFC.
Right.
Right. Yeah, like and for for the longest time now, like the sport has not been known as MMA. It's been known as UFC.
And we'd like to see that change, right?
Right. We'd like to see that change. And this is hopefully one step in that direction.
Can you imagine in a few years someone says my favorite grappler is XYZ? And it's just like a random person, like an Eagles fan.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that
wild.
would be great. Yeah, that would be great. That would be incredible. Yeah, I could, we could say more. What more could we say? We'll have to see how this shakes out. But hopefully it's a sign of the good things to come. In tangentially related grappling news, did you see that Helen Maroulis, Olympic gold medal wrestler, has entered the IBJJF?
I have not seen that, but what a shakeup.
As a blue belt.
Okay.
So if you are a female blue belt competitor looking to make waves at IBJJF, I have some deeply troubling news.
Get some.
You may be paired against an Olympic wrestler.
There may be issues.
Not just an Olympic wrestler, but an Olympic gold medalist, also an Olympic silver medalist, and I think once upon a time an Olympic bronze medalist. Arguably one of the greatest female wrestlers of all time.
I'm so sorry.
Pull guard.
I'm so sorry.
Pull guard quick. Just
Quickly.
sit quickly into guard.
Yeah.
Because Helen Maroulis is apparently coming for that ass.
That's right.
She's getting some shit for that. She's getting some shit for entering as a blue belt.
They're always going to get shit, but it may be the appropriate level because, listen, there are a lot of great wrestlers who can't submit.
Pat Downey just got promoted to blue belt.
There you go.
So...
And listen, jiu-jitsu is a separate discipline.
It is.
You can't do that shit around here. You gotta, I like what you said earlier, submit from anywhere.
Yeah.
That's a little different.
It is.
Now listen, wrestling put you on your ass from anywhere.
Right.
But submitting from anywhere?
It's true.
The game is still going.
It's a different thing, right? It's a totally different thing. But what fun to see wrestlers crossing over to jiu-jitsu.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to see some jiu-jitsu guys start wrestling.
100%.
Like, just really, let's keep grappling complete.
Yeah.
I like that. Make grappling complete. And I love that. You want to do a brief recap of 309?
Yeah, let's do a brief recap.
John Jones beat the fuck out of Stipe Miocic.
Victory by spinning back kick.
Yeah.
Which was impressive, by the way. It had some Bruce Lee vibes. I love the staying power of Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Because it would have been easy for us to just say he was bullshit or whatever. And there are some people who say that. I don't believe them.
I don't believe them.
And also, I believe John Jones said, show me a man who has practiced 10,000 kicks one time versus a man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times.
Correct.
He's going to choose the guy who's practiced one kick 10,000 times, and he's been practicing that spinning back kick.
He has.
Clearly.
And it was a very John Jones way to win a fight.
Oh, yeah.
In just a completely stellar and surprising fashion. He apparently lacerated Stipe's spleen with that kick. Stipe very unceremoniously retired. So he's done. That was the end of Stipe, as expected.
Yeah.
So,
and you know what? Actually, I'm kind of glad Stipe did his usual thing, which is low key.
Yep.
Just a regular guy who has a great opportunity.
Yep.
He one of the greatest heavyweights of all time.
Yep.
And he was like, "Hey, all right, I'm done. I'm not even." You saw him fiddle with the gloves a little bit, and he was like, "Fuck that shit." He just walk off.
I think his direct quote was, "Nah, fuck that. I'm done, Joe."
There it is.
So he's done. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Stipe had a great career. And he went out taking on John Jones. Like, you can't knock it. So John Jones is now 2-0 in the heavyweight division. Wins over Cyril Gane and Stipe Miocic.
And did not retire.
So
that means he should be looking at Tom Aspinall next.
So here's where this gets confusing. Because Dana White said pre-fight that if John Jones does not retire, it's Tom Aspinall next.
That's what he said.
They asked John Jones in the post-fight interview what he wanted next, and he said, I have to sit down and look at what moves are available.
Because he wants to go down and fight Pereira again. Pereira, yeah.
Right. Now, I would like to see that at 205.
I'd like to see it, but Tom Aspinall needs to get his lick in.
I agree.
Come on.
Especially because it'd be one thing if Jones didn't have the belt and he went down, but you're holding the belt in heavyweight right now. You are now, as soon as Stipe's walk began, right, Tom Aspinall vacated the belt.
That's right.
Right, so that as soon as the walkouts began, Tom Aspinall is considered to have vacated the interim title because the actual title was on the line.
Right.
John Jones beats Stipe. He is the undisputed heavyweight champion.
Which also means that now Tom Aspinall is the number one contender.
Correct.
That's what's happening.
But it means there's dispute.
Yeah.
You're the undisputed champion, but there is dispute.
You're now the disputed champion.
That dispute's name is Thomas Aspinall. So you're going to have to fight him.
The photos of Tom Aspinall, who might be culturally for me my favorite fighter.
Yeah.
Just for the culture, given when I'm coming into the UFC fandom.
Yeah.
He is sort of my guy. He's my Michael Chiesa.
Sure.
When I see
You picked a way better fighter than I did.
When you see Tom Aspinall's photos where the fighters are facing each other and Tom Aspinall is just in the back looking at them straight face, I'm like, this dude is just hungry.
Yeah.
Hungry. Feed him.
Yeah, it's all that you have to fight Tom Aspinall. I'd love to see him fight Pereira, but you got to fight Tom Aspinall at this point. You cannot duck that.
Can't leave him hanging. Chucky Olives.
Chucky Olives. I just dominant over Michael Chandler. Just beat that ass.
With a torn knee ligament, apparently.
Props to Michael Chandler for being just too dumb to quit. And too tough to know he's beaten. He fought literally till the end of round 5, including trying to dump Chucky Olives WWF Bam Bam Bigelow style on his back. Literally stood up with Chucky Olives on his back and jumped backwards.
I forgot the 2 fighters where that happened and then the guy got knocked out.
It's happened a few times where somebody gets dumped on their head and gets knocked out. It can happen.
But not to Chucky Olives.
Not to Chucky. No, Chucky Olives jiu-jitsu. Like he kept chest to back. He kept chin tucked, and obviously, Chandler won round 5. Credit where it's due. Chucky Olives dominantly won 1 through 4.
Yeah.
Great fight. Underwhelming moment of the night. Bo Nickel, Paul Craig.
Dude, you know what? This is why Tom Aspinall is my favorite fighter.
Because Bo Nickel let you the fuck down.
What the fuck, dude? I did not want to see that.
And
go home.
My problem with Bo here is just the lack of self-awareness.
Yeah.
Like, if you cut a post-fight interview and you were like, yeah, look, it wasn't my best fight. I got the job done. Paul Craig's a submission whiz. I didn't want to take him down and get leg locked. I did not want that.
Yeah.
So I did what I had to do to win. I'd be like, all right, I respect that.
That's not what he said.
But don't get on the mic and be like, yeah, that was fucking great. I feel awesome. I'm so proud of my performance. My G.
Bro.
My dog.
Please.
Where you at?
Help us out. Give us something.
Stop it.
Bo. I was actually kind of disgusted with that performance because, I speak very highly of Bo Nickel. I think he's got the makings of a champion, but that's not champion shit.
No,
that's not. And listen, even if he had come out and he said, I came here to do something and I did it, which if he came out and he said, listen, I wanted to shut the haters up and tell people that I could just stand and strike.
Sure.
If he had said that, okay.
All right.
But against Paul Craig,
right,
who you have to go to the ground with in order to assert your dominance as a ground game specialist, by the way. You may think that because you've got these little titles. Now, listen, I don't mean to be too disrespectful talking about little titles, but
by little titles, he means 4 NCAA national wrestling titles.
Your little titles.
Little titles.
But listen, yesterday's price is not today's price. Yesterday's price, let me say it one more time. Yesterday's price is not today's price. Don't rest on some laurels from years ago. I need you to come in here and show me something. Don't sit here and show me this little bullshit.
Yesterday's victories don't win today's battles.
Boom.
Yeah, I agree. I was underwhelmed, but I can deal with an underwhelming performance. Okay. Everyone's going to have one.
Yeah.
But have some self-awareness.
You're also 7 fights in.
Right.
You can't really afford to be letting us down like this.
Right. Don't coast now.
Come on.
It was what it was. It was underwhelming. Big Jim Miller, A10. Jim A10 Miller, retiring Damon Jackson with a guillotine. A textbook guillotine. Boy. Jim Miller.
Jim, not only textbook. When the camera went back over to Damon Jackson's side, he was gone with a single glove there.
Single glove down.
Do you know how bad that man got beat?
Yeah. It was a shame.
Yeah, it was.
It was a shame. I mean, it's
kinda
a shame
sad
to see Damon Jackson go out like that. He has kind of a harrowing story. I think a lot of his impetus to fight was, I think maybe his brother died, something like that. So he was kind of fighting for something greater.
Yeah.
He kind of retired unceremoniously.
23-8-1, not bad.
A super respectable fucking record.
But look, Jim Miller came in there. I didn't even see Damon Jackson at the end. I was like, holy shit.
Jim Miller, ageless wonder. I guess he's going to keep fighting because he just got a beautiful submission victory. Guillotine.
And that speech at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Free peanut.
Bring
him back.
Yeah. Really knows how to play to the crowd. With a RIP peanut speech. I guess the only other thing really worth mentioning is probably Oban Elliott.
I just went there.
Yeah. He proved he is really about that life.
Don't fuck around with the Welsh gangster.
No.
Don't fuck around with him.
No. Basil Hafez got knocked out in the third.
Really, really, truly knocked out.
Yeah.
Like, we were watching that, and I was like, holy shit, that looked bad.
Yeah, no. Oban Elliott came in and knocked him the fuck out, and I'm sure Basil will be back.
Oh,
I think
100%.
he'll be back, but I think it's now more than ever that we need to throw a little respect on Oban Elliott's name.
100%.
Yeah.
That's my guy.
Yeah, no. That's all the news worth reporting on that card. Here's a surprise piece of face-off news because I forgot about this.
Okay.
A civil jury in Ireland has just found Conor McGregor liable on a rape charge. Is this here's I think the only MMA relevant question, and there are, I'm sure, societally relevant questions, and there are heavy takes that I'm sure we could have. I have my own. For those of you who know what I do for a career outside of the 10-8 podcast, you know that I am no longer rocking with the Notorious One. But I'll leave that off because this is an MMA podcast. My one question: is this the end of Conor McGregor?
History says that the UFC is way more forgiving. Dare I say, diametrically opposed to cancel culture in that way.
Sure.
And so I could see them trying to spin it into a comeback situation. However, I do not advise it.
Nope.
I'm probably not going to watch it.
Nope.
Unless there's some other great fight on the card. Then I'm just going to skip that particular fight.
Yeah.
But listen, we knew Conor McGregor was of dubious moral material from jump.
To put it blandly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is not a surprise. It is a stain, a huge stain. And also, listen, Conor, sometimes you have to realize that you got.
Yeah.
You can't walk around getting delusional on us now. You can't hit us with the Bill Cosby Act.
No.
And that's what he's kind of doing. Like, my wife, and now he's got D in the background talking about, that's my husband. Like, listen, sometimes you just got to be quiet.
Yeah.
You're a washed out fighter.
Yep.
Because now we're getting deep.
Yep.
I'm gonna talk bad about you now. You're a washed out fighter. Okay, you did some good shit back in the day, but because of this and because of your actions, now the day is way back.
Way back. Yeah.
And we don't respect you.
No, I'm gonna say this. I think he's done. I just don't think that there's a comeback from this. I don't think there's a comeback for this. One, I don't think there should be.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I think that's just it. But even outside of that, even outside of the moral impetus to not have that comeback, I don't think he's got it in him. I think he was done before this.
Sure.
Right. Like, he's been washed for a while now, I think. And now this, I think, is just the weight of all of that, I think, will prevent him from making a comeback. I think he's just done as done can be. Yeah, I think it's over for him.
Cooked.
Yeah. And I think he should be. Let's end on a higher note. We hopefully got some new listeners this week. I saw a couple cousins over Thanksgiving who are MMA fans. So shouts to my cousin Ryan and Luke who are hopefully tuning in this week for the pod.
Big fam.
Big fam. Let's see it. Let's hear some love for the cousins. Yeah, end of the year's coming. We're gonna do a card for the Tampa card on the 14th. We'll cover that next week. And then we're going to come in with a Christmas episode. Hopefully we have some exciting surprises, some gifts to bring you all for Christmas for being such loyal fans and listeners. And maybe some New Year's resolutions to bring you more content in the new year.
I think so.
I think that's about it. Did I miss anything?
I think you covered it all.
I guess there's just one thing left to do. Call your mother. Tell her you love her. We out.